I'm, I personally wouldn't go live, but that's my choice of what, I would do. And then, some people would go live and that's their choice, right? The problem that I have is, do you guys remember that? Okay, here's the problem that I always have. Anytime that anybody leaves Lycan, right? Then all of a sudden it's time for a drag fest, right? It's everything that they do is just over the top, horrible, pathetic, sad, it's you're the worst parent, you're everything, right? He had the nerve to do a live. For one, he had Laura on his live who went real life and called CPS on somebody. Okay, entertain that, because obviously, in my opinion, all he cares about is views and money. And then, but not only that, then he decided that he wanted to talk about Steph, about her going live and following the ambulance, and it was such a crisis, why don't you pay attention to your child and all this stuff, right? And I was reading one of the comments and somebody said, well, can't the same thing be said about the DeLorean, because she's going through a divorce or a separation, I'm not, something like that. And what I found interesting was, let's just say if somebody from this side, for example, right, was going through a divorce or something like that, or a separation, let's just say if that was Steph, who was going through that, let's just change it for a little bit. They all would have been like, well, why don't you get offline? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Right. But it's okay as long as you support Lycan. It's okay, whatever. But then it's like, but then they're just so judgmental on everything, and he wants to go point out that, all these people should be better parent. For one, I'm sorry, but it's really hard to listen to somebody like in their late, close to 40-year-old that doesn't have a child and stuff like that, and trying to give any kind of parenting advice. And, every time he wants to call himself a legion, I'm sorry, but a legion is a group of people that are very strong people, and there's a lot of people in it. I mean, this guy has like a rotating door of people coming in and out. So exactly, as long as her son is okay, that is all that's important. Exactly. And Steph outed some shady thing folks have done, and this is payback for it, and a way to silence her. Yeah, it is, and that's what I find interesting. That was a targeted attack with an agenda. Yeah, and that's what I find interesting, because I will say this, they always want to say that, okay, so the main ones that always will talk about everybody, and then when you talk about them, then they're like, well, it's not your business, even though you put it on a public platform, right? They'll say it's not your business, you don't need to comment, stay out of my business. But then they're okay to comment because it is it's on a public platform. So they'll say, well, we can talk about it because you put it out there. Well, you know what? The same goes for you. Do you guys remember when Lycan suppose had his tire punctured and all that? And oh my goodness. Do you guys remember when his tires, right? And he went online and he was like, oh my gosh, I know who did this. He called the cops. I mean, this guy doesn't even go out, to the door. They knock on the door, he's I always hold myself a lot from saying a lot about him. He called Steph the grifter for as if he was actually profiting off that accident by dragging Steph. Exactly. And, yeah, times are hard for everyone. I agree with that. Totally is not. And so anyway, and then he also did a legal fund, right? Okay, so let's just think about this for a minute. This guy has done nothing with that legal fund. And I have that live because I actually came across it. He raised money. He's like, yeah, I'm going to follow through. I'm going to use it and blah, 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 right? Okay. Then he wanted money for his tires and all this stuff. And I don't even know what. I mean, he always says he recently said that he can go a whole month without streaming because that's how much money. He doesn't need this. And if he comes online, he expects, people to give him money. He expects people to, basically, you need to throw your money at him because he's not going to be on here wasting his time, And I was like, wow, the entitlement that just because you hit a live button, you just think that you were to make his number is always $300, that he wants to get. But nobody else is allowed to ask for money, right? Only, and this got me thinking like Natasha's the same way, right? They're very critical of everybody getting money, but then she gets money how, right? Then you got Lycan, who is very critical about people and the way that they get money, but he wants, to go live and you need to support him and, and everything, get him a new tires, even though he will literally say, I have, do you guys own a, what did he say? It was a, Vanguard, and I have this much in the bank. And I mean, he just brags right about it. And what is it? The guy at the door on that ring cam was wearing a polo and a name tag delivering food. Exactly, exactly. And that's my thing. It's like he really got scared to go. And then, oh, she's very greedy. Oh my gosh, yes, very beyond the greed. And so, and then it was said that maybe he had moved back to his mom's house and all that. But then he'll say, "Oh, but it's really nobody's business where I live and stuff." But then he's always constantly, you know, um, criticizing where everybody else lives, right? Like, but then he'll always get offended if anybody says anything, like if he lives at his mom's. If you live at your mom's, then you live at your mom's. I mean, I really honestly don't care where people live. My point is that these people are so critical about things that honestly they are doing constantly. They are constantly asking for money. They are constantly making fun of where people live, whereas, but it's none of your business where they live. They can do whatever they want, say whatever they want, support whoever they want, and stuff like that. And then they get so butthurt if you say anything against them, right? And so I was listening to the live yesterday, and I'm happy to have a house and oh, exactly. And you know what, Betty Namboot, I think that a lot of people who don't have that don't realize how much of a blessing that is. Like, it's just so nice to have that. And I think a lot of people do not know that. And I started thinking that a lot of people who constantly, you know, constantly are just poking at people are probably the most saddest people that just sit there. I got a nice trailer under the trailers at first floor. I live upstairs. Oh my gosh. I will say, going to different channels, you learn a lot about people. I still support whoever I choose. Yeah, I agree. You do learn a lot, it's just by watching, right? Just by reading and stuff. It's a blessing to have a husband, and yeah, it really is. And I'm very, very happy too. Um, and they always calling everyone else a hypocritical Karen as they act like exactly, Ginger. They always say that. Okay, so just because you have a difference of opinion, you're a Karen, right? I always notice that they always say that. They're like, oh, they're being Karens. What do you mean Karens? I mean, to be honest, I mean, a lot of these people come on freaking live and like just bitch about whatever stuff about other people and stuff. I mean, what are you doing any different? That's what I don't get. Thank you, Lord. My house is paid for, and I'm in. Oh, that is so nice, Ruthann. Yeah, I'm almost there, and it is crazy. It is nice, and it's just a blessing. It's like fill in the blank because most posts don't say who they are talking about. Yeah, and so I was listening to Lycan's live, and I was like thinking, wait a minute. So this guy was literally trying, and this is what he does. He always likes to give like all these advice, like, when he would come into my live and I need to do my live this way and my thumbnail this way. He's very like, he's so weird because he's terminated from YouTube. So why would I take, any kind of, well, it just makes me laugh because it's like, why would I take any advice from somebody who's been terminated from YouTube? You know what I mean? First of all, but second of all, he's kind of like this know-it-all guy, and he thinks that he can tell people how you should be as a wife, even though he's never been married, how a family should be run, even though he doesn't have a family, how kids, even though he doesn't have kids, I mean, everything, right? He's just a know-it-all. He's got it all worked out, even though he doesn't. None of this, I would rather take advice from somebody who's, for one, like financially set. I'm not going to take, advice from like Bernie Madoff or something. You know what I mean? Like, there's just certain people you're just not going to. Big blessings for you all. Yeah. Hey, how you doing, baby? Amazing. Thank you for being here. And had about 100 channels. Ain't that the truth? So I was listening, and he was saying how she was using this as an opportunity to graft, and I'm thinking, okay, so how many times has he hit live and played this for me? I'm not gonna do drama anymore, you guys. I'm just gonna, go over here on Rumble, and if you guys want to follow me, y'all are more than, y'all can come follow me and blah, blah, blah. And then, the next day he's back to drama because, he has to, respond to something, right? And then he literally told, no joke, he literally told Perplex that she needs to stop responding back to people who just respond to her, because then that's just going to keep going on. I was like, this boy's kidding, right? That's like, my thing is, does he ever listen to what he says? Like, seriously, like, he loves to always tell people, well, don't feed into it. Just let it go. Don't, because then you're just going to make it worse. I'm like, how many times has he just kept going and responding? It is a joke. I mean, I'm just like, what? We paid our house off years ago and it saves so much money. I try not to take things for granted because what I know that's where I want to be off, like to be able to pay the house off. It's going to be so nice, especially like how much homes are going for. Oh my gosh. He's a soccer mom and a PG. Yes, exactly, Ginger. Yes. And, people are going to be like, well, what? Why are you here? Just taken down. Oh, yes, he has. It is beyond. Did anybody see that live by chance? I'm just like curious because it is a joke. It really is a joke.